how he built this, what he does down here, the combination of machining, manufacturing, technology, code. It's checking all the boxes.
We went down to about 11,000 meters, which is the lowest point of the Mariana Trench. Richard has been to the ISS. We also went to the North Pole together and jumped into a volcano. It goes to 11, it's one louder. Alexa, send Michael Dubno money.
Hi folks, we are here in New York City. So you want to introduce yourself? Sorry.
So hi, I'm Mike Dubno, amateur machinist, professional software developer, inventor, artist, explorer, basically lunatic.
I got to know Mike a few years ago. We met up actually through the Tormach Facebook group and have since become friends, and it's been great to have him to bounce ideas off, talk to, and the combination of machining, manufacturing, technology, code, it's checking all the boxes. Some of you folks may have seen Mike and Richard, who's over there on a drill press,
Howdy.
The bottom of the earth, the bottom of the ocean, literally.
This is my unindicted co-conspirator with almost everything. Building stuff, exploration. I probably wouldn't have gone on any of these explorations without Richard convincing me to do it. Richard has been to the ISS, a video game developer, generally a cool guy. I told him once that he used to be my hero. We went down to about 11,000 meters, which is the lowest point of the Mariana Trench. And the Mariana Trench is the deepest trench in the ocean or on Earth. We released a geocache that somebody we know made.
Yes.
Do you know anyone who made that?
Amazing. Vince.
Vince made it. Thank you, Vince.
Obviously, the geocache in the syntactic foam had to stay outside of your vessel. And then a robotic arm that you're controlling with a joystick just drops it?
Richard did the release on his dive.
Okay.
I went with a guy named Victor Vescovo. Richard went with Victor Vescovo, who was the pilot. And so you can only have two people. It's a 4'9" sphere at best.
Okay.
And gets a quarter of an inch smaller while you're going down. His dive is the one that deployed it. Which makes
just
sense.
in case it wouldn't deploy.
Sure.
Yeah, but also Richard has another cool cache on the International Space Station.
It's amazing.
The highest and the lowest. And when I put it there, I was thinking no one is going to go back there to find that.
Yeah.
But it turns out most every astronaut is either a geocacher or has a friend that is.
Amazing.
And so that one's visited all the time.
It's still up there.
I get posts when people log it, I get a message.
So this challenge was to make it so they couldn't actually.
No one's going to find it.
Good luck.
But by the way, you were mentioning, like, will people find
Right.
the plaque? And of course, they'll see the syntactic foam first.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually have, what we put up on the website is we actually want people to return it if they find it.
Oh,
and so,
like take it.
So it will all be returned someday, hopefully. And this machine limiting factor can now go back to that depth regularly. In fact, it's diving somewhere in the world to basically that depth almost every day now.
Do you guys know the GPS coordinates-ish? Or GPS doesn't work?
So the answer is yeah.
No. You couldn't go back behind it.
GPS doesn't work after a foot.
Yeah, nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
But you do try to get pretty good coordinates, and I think they're close.
We also did our pressure experiment, which is what John was showing.
Yeah.
We also did a number of other experiments where we were looking for microplastics. We were looking for extremophiles, things that live in places where you wouldn't expect anything to be able to live. This is air pressure normally. At 1,100 times that, just imagine something trying to live.
Yeah.
Nothing could really gasify in it, etc. They have different proteins to do to live. And so one of the things that we do is experiment with that and bring back those organisms, give it to a college to go and analyze it and see what they get.
Well, on a much more pedestrian level, as a thank you for making the geocache, Mike sent me a thing and it arrived in the mail and I looked at it. What is this?
I sent you what looked like a piece of garbage, didn't it?
Correct. And it was a styrofoam cup.
But it was carefully wrapped.
It was amazing.
So why don't we start with Richard? He's working on at the moment are blanks for a semi-computerized orrery that we make almost entirely on the Tormach when we're cutting. Okay.
You cut all these gears?
Yeah. So.
Or you filed them, like you click spring them?
So, yeah, click spring. I did this all by hand.
You have to say it with an accent.
That's right. Chris here.
Good day.
In fact, we should call Chris up instead of making fun of him. He's an unbelievably good friend. But one of the things that we realized was useful was taking a Tormach fourth axis
microARC.
The microARC. When I got it, actually didn't even have a name. The microARC was, I had the first beta unit. And I figured, okay, what is it that I can do uniquely with that? And it was cut gears. And these specifically are involute cut gears, but none of them are cut with an involute cutter. They're cut with standard bevel cutters, double bevel cutters, or slitting saws.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm thinking just like a 60-degree double angle, but you're talking about flat tooling.
So you actually have both of those. So let's actually bring up, so this is missing its planets because this aluminum one is just a test version. We wanted to make sure that our idea worked before we spend time making production. And so here it is showing current day.
Okay.
Each one of these would hold a planet out at a certain distance. And we can change that and travel to 2022. And we say, okay.
Look at that.
And a little stepper motor steps the right amount.
Yeah.
And if you notice, this went back to the same year. And now we'll go back to today. So I'll put my finger roughly where that was. You'll see that a year on Earth has transpired. We do have one of Elon Musk's cars.
The car?
With Starman in the driver's seat.
Plane?
It's an interesting orbit. It is an eccentric orbit that won't hit Earth, but it's between like Venus and Mars. And it's a weird orbit on an angle designed intentionally not to run into any of these planets.
Oh, interesting.
So it's actually hard to put in an orrery because it actually goes between the planets.
And doesn't go around in a circle.
Yeah.
And so that'll be Orrery project number 2.
And so here's woodworking stuff. We have a shop bot to do things, water jet cutter in the corner, metal storage in the back.
Amazing.
Every place you could stuff something, I sort of have. Home automation that's monitoring the entire house in real time. By the way, have you ever seen this saw? Normally, compound miter saws require a lot of space.
Yep.
This one doesn't. And why is that?
Look at that joint. Constrains it on the 2 different degrees of motion with the articulation there.
And it's nicely built.
Yeah, looks really smooth.
And can fit in my smallified shop.
Which we're in your basement.
Pardon me for interjecting, but one thing you really need to know is how you get all this gear down here.
Oh, well, that's an interesting question.
And it's not that staircase.
Yeah.
I heard
Well,
a
actually-
story about Jimmy DeResta in that staircase.
So
Some did come that way.
So Jimmy helped get the 440 down those stairs, but then I got slightly bigger equipment. And so we got it down through that access hatch.
That's street level then?
Close to street level. Do some electronics work over here. Even though this looks like a relatively crappy mechanical mechanism, this is an atomic clock that I've made. Hasn't been on in a while, but hopefully the processor will boot in time. Did I show you this before?
Look at that!
Yeah, it would be great if it was 1257, but
Okay. Nobody knows that.
This is the time that was left over in the microcontroller. In a few seconds, this will actually sync back up to network time, and it will hopefully show the right thing.
Syncs to a time clock?
Oh yeah, it's 18. 10.
Perfect.
See? It's perfect. You got to see it move.
What's the processor behind it, or the code? And
Oh, that's. I tend to use Raspberry Pis. They're relatively cheap and really powerful. This is just some of the store of stuff.
did you clean up for this tour?
No.
This is incredible, like immaculate. What's the?
This has benefits and it has downsides. One of the benefits is that you could actually, when working here, just drill into this as a backing. So this is just a sacrificial piece of metal. Good thing also is you drop things, they don't fall on the floor.
Right.
The slightly bad thing is that if you have to vacuum it up, this is in the way, right, if you want to sweep it up. But this is where we were doing jewelry making and all kinds of other things before. I feel like I'm showing laundry, but this is something
No, this is awesome.
pretty cool. In a small shop, you want to stuff in as much as possible. And so I actually welded together this cart and a fair lead and winder so you could go anywhere in the shop.
Oh, without moving it out.
Control it remotely. And in fact, you can take it out if you need to.
What do you mean control it remotely? That's the on-off switch? That's great.
Doesn't that suck? And then something fun here as well, which is I made this originally for my metalworking area, but I haven't been able to find like good lighting. And so this is something I just welded together. And so with Richard working over there,
Yeah.
we actually...
Look at that.
You can leave that on right there if you'd like.
Yeah.
That will really help.
And
That's
so this one lamp has about a 6-foot reach. So it's a 12-foot diameter of what it's dealing with. And so you basically can light almost every single table with a light that you can focus down.
Right. That's great.
So very useful. Very happy to have devices that stop if I put my hand in it.
Yeah. I've never seen a little saw stop either. That's great.
Yeah, I wish there was like a little saw stop that was more of a cabinet saw rather than a job site saw, so you get some of the benefits, but because I don't have room for an outfeed table or anything here. Also, if you notice, there's blue piping throughout the entire place. That's actually a vacuum system. And all the tools that should be hooked up are hooked up to that.
Like a dust vacuum system.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And where I do something a little bit questionable with that is actually, that's why you'll see fire extinguishers everywhere in the workshop. This is actually hooked up to the dust collection system as well.
What could go wrong?
And so it could all catch fire. But you knew that already. You tricked me. I built a dust collection system for the belt grinder. And
Oh, yeah, look at
so
that.
you could put water in the tray, and you could also put water in a collection system back there. So there's actually a spark arrestor system that I built for it. So anything that gets sucked down this metallic safe tube gets thrown into water, and then just air comes back out.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen fire come up there, but I have seen things light up over here. So, a little bit questionable. And then there is one other thing. Again, storing stuff. This is actually a surface grinder for the belt grinder.
Look at that. I've never seen such a thing.
And
From the
so-
same Ameribraid? From the same manufacturer? Huh. You could walk through the shop and not realize everything is on wheels.
Everything is on wheels.
Everything's on wheels. I love it.
This one, if you take a look,
Yeah.
came much higher off the ground, which is what most people would use.
Right.
Right, a good 6-7 inches off the ground. But I needed a tabletop, so I took the wheels off, welded together some outriggers, put that on, put a steel top on, and then I used these two beautiful surface plates here.
Beautiful.
Not surface plates,
Fixture
fixture
plates.
plates. So this is useful because I have a tapping arm, and the tapping arm is El Cheapo from China and works amazingly well. So for something, just a couple $100,
Right.
right? It doesn't glide as beautifully as some other ones, but works really well. And again, since there's not a lot of space, you figure out how to slap storage everywhere.
That's great.
There's a
Shower
few
bins?
Saunders Machine Works
look at
products
that.
in here. And but if
I can't walk away. Don't think we're not going to talk about this.
John came in and just busted my Heimer tip.
Or the VFD as well.
That's a reasonable belt grinder, right?
Holy cow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
It goes to 11, it's one louder. Over here is my main workbench. So this is the same idea as the Kaizen foam, except I laser cut this out. And so then I had something that's truly custom made for my tools. And it's not that hard to redo.
You have a laser here as well?
Of course. Electronic stuff is done over there. I have oscilloscopes from many years ago when I was doing stuff. that scope is phenomenal because you could actually debug hardware by monitoring protocols. This is an air quality indicator, and I don't breathe as well as most people.
Okay.
And so I have an oxygen meter here, which will go off if oxygen levels are not correct. Also, various automation devices, and also air quality. So if this ever doesn't look right, I get out of the room.
Did you build this?
This is something I just bought online, but I want to get something that integrates with the home automation and then says get out.
Right.
I have three-phase power. It is not common to have it.
Okay.
But this was a multifamily dwelling before someone turned it into a private home.
Got it.
Those gray cabinets there,
Yeah.
that's the entire power distribution for the house.
Oh my gosh.
And so, there's 400 amp three-phase power coming in. This, by the way,
love it.
is a full hardware store.
Yeah.
And, basically, they're draw after
Totally
draw.
the way to go, yeah.
And that works really well.
This is literally a dream. Like I'm glad I didn't have this because I never would have left New York City. And I'm glad, it's good to be back.
Wait a
but I'm
second,
glad I left
and
New
you're
York City.
glad you left. Oh, the other thing for the dust collection is it has a floor sweep.
Oh yeah, look at that.
So you actually just sweep stuff into
That's
that,
great.
and out it goes. And then, again, squeezing more storage in. So these are a small wheel holder and a large wheel holder for the belt grinder. And then, obviously, a Tormach 440. I've made a couple of mods to it.
Oh, that's much nicer.
I don't have room to open doors and get in the way.
Yeah.
So I had to do this, and it only costs about $20 to do. I put an automatic oiler because I usually forget to oil the machine.
Yeah.
So every time the machine turns on, or every 6 hours or whatever, it oils itself. There's another mod. This is all attached to an arm.
Yep.
So that swings out of the way. Over here is a plasma table.
This is incredible.
And so right now, you see the Orrery.
Right.
Orrery blanks are being laid out, but there's a full water table underneath.
Unbelievable.
And the water table, though, has this pump system. So you hook up air over here, and then you just press that, and it fills the table.
Like a ballasted.
And you press that the other way, and it empties the table.
That's incredible.
And then, also from a plasma standpoint, again, there's no room.
This is amazing.
So
Yeah.
you actually figure out ways of extracting, Also, automatic height control. For
Really?
a little personal
Tracks
one.
along it? Cool.
And then, in fact, over there, you'll see some welding gear. That one's MIG. There's TIG on the left. Water-cooled torches, which really help. And then there's a spot welder over there. And then, obviously you need drills. You start getting bigger. But there's bigger than that. And I'll show you quickly over here. This is the actual tool storage room, where projects are stored over there and tools are stored over here. So there's a full mag drill,
incredible.
which, by the way, this is phenomenal. I don't need it much, but when I do,
Right.
we got a press so we could test pressure.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't have this before, but it turns out to be useful for other things. But we got this so we could actually see whether we can form things and what amount of pressure it takes.
Yeah.
And try to simulate the depths.
Yep.
I don't know how well we did with the simulation, but our results came out good. So yeah, we'll use that. And then obviously
raw material.
you have to have some raw material, and that's there, and all kinds of weird plastics, carbon fiber, etc. This is what Richard was referring to when he was talking about getting something down the stairs. It's a high precision Matthews lathe, and this is about as big as you possibly can get into this place without killing someone. And we came awfully close. And so we actually had to put this down like a big tuna.
Oh my gosh.
And so all the oil in the head started flowing out while doing that. So Richard was on top of the hole, lowering this down with oil dripping everywhere with the chain hoist and all that, and his wife constantly calling him. Perfect.
Come on.
We have a gantry.
It's amazing.
Which was useful for hoisting this up onto the platform and moving it in
Sure.
place.
This is great. both having these set up and then obviously the storage. Did you cut and bend these yourself?
Yeah, and these
super simple.
are they're trivial. They're tiny little things. So I set. I think I cut them all by hand. I don't even think I used a plasma cutter to do anything else. And just use a piece of standard mounting.
Yeah.
What is that called? The unistrut.
Unistrut, right. What is this tool here?
This
a razor
tool
blade.
Is actually something I made. And so if you're cutting really thin brass tubing, it turns out that any kind of pressure tool will actually distort the tubing.
Sure.
And so you can't have concentric tubing. But a razor blade like this that's slowly inched in will actually cut it perfectly.
Yeah.
And no distortion.
Sure.
And so I actually machined that one day.
There's it's worth Googling a tangential diamond turning tool. I may be getting that wrong, but it's a small industrial diamond mounted kind of in a strange way, angled up like that for high precision, low force, if I'm doing this correctly from memory, way of turning. And totally not what you'd see, and it kind of reminds me of that.
Well, I should definitely take a look at that. But there's other fun things. So this is actually just a regular bar, which I mount in here for hand turning. So
using your post. Got it.
So it's a tool post, and then other fun things, which is just a very simple alignment bar.
Yep.
So you just bring it up to the front and bring it up to the side, and boy, anyone could make that.
Yeah.
I know because I did. This is also, again, what can fit here. I would have preferred something a little bit larger, but this is actually a fairly precise mill. But it's just, it's obviously not as rigid as Bridgeport or something like that.
Sure.
But it has some nice things. It has, automatic drawbar, has full DRO, feed and everything else. So we come in here.
It's incredible.
So this used to be a computer room, and now these are the 3 computers that run the entire show.
The home automation stuff?
That's home automation. That is just general network functions like firewall and stuff like that. And then this is a phone system. So we have run a number of businesses out of our house at times. We probably don't need a phone system anymore. And door opening and stuff like that. And then this is just to deal with all the networking stuff in the house. But even so, picked up one of these little engine cranes or whatever for shop crane to put the lathe in place. And turns out there's room if you find room. Laser cutter. And also full vacuum system for the laser cutter.
Oh, interesting.
Which also turns on the air. Because I reached in the back, and put a compressor in it. Resin printer. Regular FDM. There is an air compressor. That's actually in that room.
Cool.
But you'll enjoy how the air compressor works. So you do a lot of stuff live, and you're recording. So that would be an on-air light. That's the air on light. And so if I turn off the compressor,
I love it.
And also it has an auto vent because you get the water out of it.
What that reminds me that I now all of a sudden want is a pressure gauge that lights up, giving you a 20-second warning that the air is about to turn on, so that if you're doing something where you care, it's about to happen.
That's actually a really good idea. That is pretty much everything in the shop. Are you ready?
Yeah. This is so cool. It's not just a sand table. I actually love the motor noise.
It used to make much less noise before it was shipped.
Look at that.
And what's cool is if anyone wants to make one, the software is now up on GitHub. And there's tons of different drivers, draw animals. It will automatically Google a picture of something and then draw it, etc.
This is one of those life-changing moments. When I first met Mike and he showed me this, and he said, "What do you want to draw?" And basically what he explained, and I'll see if he corrects me, but it was R2-D2 or Minnie Mouse or a stapler, and it the code he wrote will parse or search Google, it'll find something, it will somehow vector it or trace it or outline it, and then it'll convert that, it'll wipe the table clean, and then it'll convert that into the stepper
Yes.
motion. It's amazing.
And in fact, I used to have that hooked up to the various Amazon and Google
Alexas?
devices. And Alexa, send Michael Dubno money.
Did you mean the Michael J. Fox?
Alexa, stop. You used to just be able to say, hey, ask Sandtable to draw a giraffe.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so kids would control this. So, there's now a commercial product that does drawing.
Is it really?
Yeah, but not as cool.
Yeah, that's not as cool.
If you notice with the Sandtable, one of the things it's doing is it says, okay, there's a regular static table that you have in a house. Everyone has a table, right? And people have lamps. And wouldn't it be interesting to find out what would happen if your lamp or your table can do more, and that you could actually talk to it and get it to do something different? This device is called Tentalux. I made pretty much every single part that's on it. And even the motor control is done as servos and things like that. And if you take a look at like one of the arms.
Well, that's crazy. Look at that move.
And so you could see that I'm moving this interface.
Okay, you're controlling that.
And that's moving. Or I could do it all together.
Oh, trippy.
Or I could do them all in the same direction. So, oh look, somebody's at the door. You could do that. But it also has the ability to dim the lights, etc. But also to point. So here's an example. I'll put my phone.
Plate with a fish on it. There we go.
Okay, so here's my phone. And here's this
you have a camera view of it. Look at that.
And so I now press that, and that lit up
It points
my phone.
all the lights.
And now that's pointed at that dish over there. And it's doing that, or point to the center. And so then figured, okay, well, there's no reason why this has to be limited in that way. So let's actually make it so it could remember poses. So here it's pointing at various art items in the room.
Okay.
And here it is now turning into an internal chandelier.
The range of motion is actually incredible.
So here is now a chandelier, or it could be a focused.
It's uplighting.
You could just focus on something. But in addition to all that, you realize that there's no reason why it couldn't just be told to animate in some manner. So it's doing what are called like dances or movements, and this is a wave dance. And then you could see that you could also sort of do ripple. So one of the arms is moving around and the other will start doing it, etc.
Yeah.
And then there's something, really creepy. This one is cool. Even though the lights are off, you'll notice something, which is it's breathing.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We now have it on a vision system. So if I have a plate, do we have any plates?
Does anybody have a plate?
That looks pretty close.
That's amazing.
So
It's not sure if it likes it.
Yeah.
Look at that's amazing.
So if you notice, it will actually start following it around. My guess is the translucent aspect of it is confusing it a little
Right.
bit. Here's another thing that looks like a plate.
So what's it do
And
now?
if it has multiple, it will then divide and have some of the arms looking at it. You could also ask it to do scenes and stuff like that. Let's see what would work. Okay, Google, turn on Tentalux eye light.
Got it. Activating
Whoa.
Tentalux eye light.
Okay, Google, turn on Tentalux mostly up.
Sure. Activating Tentalux mostly.
So one of them stays down. That's mostly up.
What is this written in? Like, I understand the mechanical side, but like, how do you do the
So
software
most
side
of the
this?
stuff is just written in Python. So it's interesting. The motor controllers, these are my own servos because I didn't see anything that you could actually turn off power to and the servo would stay there.
Got it.
So the thing is that I don't want this humming all the time.
Yeah.
And so I want it to go there and stop. And so these are actually worm gear motors.
Oh, hence no backdriving.
Yep, and the
Got
worm
it.
gear motors have a Hall effect sensor to figure out positioning. I then wrote some code to turn them into servos, and so they slow down and all this other stuff.
So there's a PID loop with acceleration and so
Full
forth.
PID
Got it.
in there. And that turned out to be relatively straightforward. The difficult part was doing light dimming.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that the light actually has a microcontroller in it.
Oh.
And so if you're pulsing something with a microcontroller, it's trying to figure out what you're trying to do, and it starts arguing with you. And then it turns out that the timers on Arduinos line up at times. So there's multiple timers in an Arduino, and when they all line up, they actually overcurrent and suddenly don't work. And so the lighting turned out to be harder than the motor control, which I thought it was going to be just the opposite. But it would do things like, literally, the Arduino would just fail. Stop. And the reason for it is that all of the lights were on pulse up at the same time, and the current draw was just too great, and it just went no.
Yeah, interesting.
One Arduino per 2 arms for motor control.
Okay.
One Arduino for all lighting control, and so that's now 4 Arduinos. And then one Raspberry Pi to do vision and interface.
And that also controls the Arduino.
Yep. So this eye, that was the first time I did any real complex machining. So that's basically most of the lunacy that's here.
It's amazing. You do a better job than anybody I know of tying together. I mean, it's not just making stuff, it's the software side and turning it into a project, whether it's at artistic form or completion. It's really cool. Thank you very much for showing us the tour at the shop. We'll post some other links and descriptions of stuff we talked about. Otherwise, folks, hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed. Take care. See you soon.